What is up and welcome back, and today we have the Kyrie Flytrap 6. This is going to be a basic model basketball shoe or a budget line. I feel this shoe does real well, but you also have to know its limitations. So with that said, let's begin with the close-up of this shoe. So here's the close-up of the Flytrap 6, and in my opinion this shoe is a lot better than the 4 or the 5. I felt a lot more comfortable wearing this one. And also for the materials, for the mesh, especially if you compare it to the 5, this mesh up top is going to be a lot more sturdier and firm, and I like that in a basketball shoe. It keeps its structure, as you can tell, because sometimes when the materials are too light, or for example a budget model, I don't like that this moves around a whole lot, especially for those stops, those hard stops. It almost feels like your foot's going to roll over, but for this one you're covered in that because the material is going to be this mesh. Hopefully you can see that, and you can see the mesh right here, but it looks like it has like a paneling underneath it that is stacked on top, and that paneling is also going to be mesh as well. That's what it looks like. Hopefully you can get a close-up of that right there. And I mean, I love the upper, definitely. For me it's a huge plus. It's breathable but yet firm and sturdy like we mentioned. Now for the cushioning of the shoe, if we take a look for example at the collar area, I mean I like it. It's not going to be anything extraordinary, but you do feel locked in, especially with the Kyries. We all know that for those type of shoes, the whole line, even the budget line, you do get this real good like snug feel for the shoes, and the lockdown, especially in the ankle, feels great to me. So you're not having any problems with this shoe. Also, like we mentioned, the padding for the tongue, you're going to have, it's not going to be a thin tongue. So I mean that's a plus. I like seeing that because on budget lines sometimes they give you these really thin tongues, and I just hate that in a basketball shoe. So far everything's checking out real good. We take a look at the back. It's going to have a heel counter. You can feel it, and you guys already know, for me, for a basketball shoe you got to have a solid heel counter because it's just for safety reasons, and I feel locked in as well. It helps out a whole lot. Alright, now the shoe does a real good job of locking your foot in with the lacing system. It does have this right here, this design, but it's going to be more for aesthetics, doesn't do much for the front of the shoe. But with this going down the middle and how the laces system is set up, I mean it does a real good job of that middle portion of your feet. I mean they're going to be solid and very good. So for the whole upper, I mean I love it. I love the design, I love the colorway. Looks real clean. I love the Nike sign, how it has that extra color inside the swoosh sign. So that's a nice plus. We turn around, you can see it. I love it has a little bit of red sprinkled all throughout the shoe. I love that it has this extra stitching in the front. And we're talking about a budget line, and it has those little details. And also this right here, this extra stitching along the upper. And it just helps again with the support of the shoe. I love to see that. And again, you're not going to have a problem with the laces because look right here. If we get a close-up, you can see that it's also stitched as well, has extra stitching. And then it's got some paneling right here. So, I mean, this is going to work real well with the shoe. And for the laces, I mean, they're just regular laces, so I'm just happy we didn't get real cheap laces because I hate cheap laces, once again, especially if I see that in a budget line. Now we take a look at the bottom part of the shoe. It is going to come with a foam midsole for the whole shoe, and it's also going to come with an air unit in the front, an air zoom that's going to be on the forefoot. Now for that forefoot air unit, I mean you do know that it's there, but you don't really feel it, okay? That was my experience with this shoe. It's not going to be like the Infinity, right? The Kyrie Infinity, where you do feel that bubble in the front, and when you land you just feel it right there, like in that very specific area. In this shoe you don't really feel it at all, and that could be a good thing and a bad thing. Why do I say it could be a good thing? Because I mean you're gonna get a lot of ground feel. This shoe is just the way it's set up, you do feel that you're low to the ground and you could just push off, and it's going to be super responsive. But the drawback of that is because it is really low to the ground and you don't feel you don't have nothing underneath, those landings or those maybe really hard stops, you're going to feel them a little bit more. So that's the drawback, especially on a budget line. You don't have a lot of cushioning or extra things put into the shoe that is going to make it feel more plush, more soft on your feet. It is going to be more like you're putting your foot just straight down on that ground, okay? So that's something I want everybody to be aware of. Now, if you ask me, hey JP, do you like that? For me, I do love that in a shoe. I love shoes where you can feel the ground, but you have to know its limitations. So with that being said, if you're jumping up for a layup and you're up there in the air kind of high, just make sure when you land, you're bending your knees, okay? Because you don't want to absorb everything through your whole body frame, because you are going to feel it. I tried on this shoe and compared it to the 7, compared to the Infinity, and I have some older models that I also tried on, and definitely with a budget line you do feel that landing. I felt it like it's pretty obvious. It's like day and night. But as long as you know that when you land, you're kind of taking a couple extra steps to break your speed or your fall, it's going to help out a whole lot. Or when you land, that you're kind of like making sure that energy gets transferred into the ground. Just make sure you're not landing like super stiff, because that is going to go through your whole body. Now that we talked about the cushioning system for the lower part, let's look at the traction. This is what we're going to be working with. And I do love this traction. I feel it's a lot better than the 4, definitely. But this right here, I mean, I feel you're going to be covered, definitely for indoors and outdoors. The only drawback, again, because when you are dealing with, again, budget line shoes, they tend to pick up a lot of dust. And I feel this one's going to do the same thing. But you have to wipe constantly. So just make sure you're wiping constantly and you'll be pretty good. Now we take a look at the traction. One thing I did notice is going to be the online description of the shoe said it was made from recycled materials. Part of the shoe, even the box mentioned that. And I feel that maybe some of those recycled materials were right here on the traction, because if you get a close look, you can see little particles or little dots inside the traction. So maybe they did use a little bit of recycled materials for the traction, but it feels real solid. It doesn't feel like flimsy at all. It feels that it's going to wear out at a nice, good, constant rate. Okay, so just be aware of that. If you tend to get this shoe, then you look at it in person, that's kind of what it's going to be. 2 more details that I want to talk about. This shoe also comes with side bumpers that are somewhat high. As you can see right here, some of the rubber climbs on the side of the shoe. And you see a little bit of the traction right there on the side. We turn around as well on the other side, and I like that because it does help out with the toe drags, or for you having that nice control when you're stopping, right? That always helps out when you have that side traction that crawls on the side. Now, because it is a budget line, you're not going to have that real aggressive traction transferring over to the side, but at least you have some of it, so that's a huge plus. Also, I want to talk about the bottom of the shoe. As you can tell, hopefully the light captures it, but this shoe goes pretty straight, and then all of a sudden it curves. Maybe the light can get it. You guys can see that transition. But I did check out some of my other Kyries, and they have more of a smooth transition. But I figured maybe they added that to the shoe because since it's not going to have all the technology that maybe $130 shoe or maybe $150 shoe is going to have, that little curve helps out with that rocker step. So I mean, I like seeing that in basketball shoes when they add little things like that when they're trying to be cost effective. And for sizing, if you're narrow or regular, make sure you go a half size up. And if you're a wide footer, make sure you go a full size up. I am a wide footer and I ended up going a full size, and this shoe felt real good, real secure and snug, no problems whatsoever. And I actually think it fits better than the 5. So there you have it. This shoe is going to have a lot of good things going for it. For me, I do like the firmness of the shoe. Some people might not prefer it, but for me, I'm okay with it. The shoe's not going to bend as much like other shoes, but for me, this shoe is not a deal breaker because, I mean, it's not too heavy. When shoes are real firm and they feel heavy, I tend to have a problem with them. I can't play in them. But this shoe, for me, it felt real good on feet. It didn't feel like I was dragging or nothing. Also, for the cushioning, some people might not like those hard landings, right? But I'm the type of player that I know where I'm at for the majority of the time when I'm up in the air. I just gotta make sure that when I'm landing, I'm kind of breaking my fall with the different ways that we talked about. So for a budget line, this is a shoe that's going to give you a lot of different things. We talked about the materials are going to be breathable, but yet they are going to be very firm and have structure. I do like that I have some things like the high bumpers on the side and the heel clips at the end of the shoes. So In my opinion, this is going to be a good shoe for a budget line. It kind of depends what you're looking for. If you're looking for a budget line that has a little bit more plush or cushiony, then this shoe is not going to be it, because there are better options out there. And not to mention the aesthetics. In my opinion, this colorway is one of the better looking colorways for this model of this shoe, and the price tag is going to be 81 USD if you can still find it. But there are other models that are going 90 or 95 USD. So with that said, these were the Kyrie Flytrap number 6, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.